These three parks are where people vanish forever. The Grand Canyon, Mount Rainier, Yosemite. Millions of people visit these cathedrals of nature every year, looking for breathtaking views and a connection with the wild. They're landscapes that define the word epic, places of profound beauty, monumental scale, and quiet wilderness. You've seen the pictures. Maybe you've even planned the trip, imagining yourself standing on the edge of a canyon carved by time itself, or looking up at a glacier-crowned volcano that seems to pierce the clouds. We go to these parks to feel alive, to get away from the noise, and to witness the raw power of the natural world. But for some, these majestic landscapes hold a terrifying secret. Beyond the stunning vistas and well-worn trails, there's a disturbing pattern. These three parks are places where people don't just get lost, they vanish forever. What if the very things that make these parks so beautiful also make them the perfect places to disappear without a trace? It's a haunting question for park rangers, search and rescue teams, and the families left behind with nothing but memories. We're not just talking about simple accidents or hikers who wandered off trail and succumbed to the elements. The cases we're about to explore are different. They're marked by strange circumstances, a lack of evidence, and an unnerving silence from the wilderness that refuses to give up its secrets. In this video, we'll uncover the mysterious circumstances and chilling patterns behind why so many who enter these parks are never seen again. Section 1. The Grand Canyon, an abyss of mystery. There is no place on Earth quite like the Grand Canyon. It's a geological masterpiece, a massive canyon over a mile deep, 277 miles long, and up to 18 miles wide. Its sheer size is almost impossible for the human mind to truly grasp. The park itself is larger than the entire state of Rhode Island. It's a place of extreme temperatures, treacherous cliffs, and a labyrinth of side canyons so remote that many have never been fully explored. With this immense scale comes inherent danger. Since 2018 alone, over 1,100 missing persons reports have been filed in the Grand Canyon. While most of those people are found, some become permanent enigmas, swallowed by the canyon's vastness. Our first case is one of the oldest and most iconic mysteries in national park history, a story of love, ambition, and a disappearance so complete it has become the stuff of legend. This is the story of Glenn and Bessie Hyde. In the fall of 1928, newlyweds Glenn and Bessie Hyde set off on a bold honeymoon adventure to navigate the treacherous rapids of the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. Glenn was an experienced riverman, and he built his own boat, a 20-foot wooden scow, just for the journey. Their goal was twofold. Glenn wanted to set a new speed record, and Bessie was poised to become the first woman ever to successfully run the river. They started their journey on the Green River, which eventually joins the mighty Colorado. Bessie kept a diary, and her entries paint a picture of a tough but thrilling trip. They battled freezing temperatures and powerful rapids. Early on, Glenn was thrown from the boat, a stark reminder of the river's unforgiving power. On November 16th, about a month in, they hiked out of the canyon to restock supplies at the south rim. Here, they met Emery Kolb, a famous river runner and photographer. He took what would be the last known photos of the couple. He noted they seemed underprepared, without life jackets, and he reportedly sensed tension between them. It seemed Bessie was growing tired of the dangerous trip and might have wanted to stop, but they pushed on. The last entry in Bessie's diary was dated November 30th, 1928, near Diamond Creek. They were supposed to emerge from the canyon at Needles, California, by December 6th. When that day came and went with no sign of them, Glenn's father grew worried and organized a search. On December 19th, a search plane spotted the Hyde scow. It was found upright and intact, snagged in the rocks. Inside, everything was neatly in place. Their supplies were still strapped down, and Bessie's diary and camera were recovered. But of Glenn and Bessie Hyde, there was no trace. They had simply vanished. An extensive search turned up nothing. Not a footprint, not a piece of clothing, not a body. The most logical theory is that they were thrown from the boat in a violent stretch of rapids near River Mile 232. But the pristine condition of their boat, full of their belongings, has always cast doubt on this simple explanation. The void left by their disappearance was quickly filled with speculation. Had Glenn, angry at Bessie's desire to quit, done something terrible? Or, the more popular theory, had Bessie turned on an allegedly abusive husband? This theory took on a shocking life of its own in 1971, when a woman on a commercial rafting trip claimed to be Bessie Hyde. She said she had stabbed Glenn to death, hiked out of the canyon, and started a new life. The woman later took back her story, but the seed was planted. The mystery got even stranger after the death of pioneering female river runner Georgie Clark in 1992. Friends going through her things found a marriage license for Glenn and Bessie Hyde and a pistol. While historians have largely debunked the idea that Clark was Hyde, the discovery adds yet another layer to one of the Grand Canyon's most enduring mysteries. Decades later, the desert Southwest continues to guard its secrets. A more modern and equally baffling case is that of a German family on vacation in 1996. While this story takes place in nearby Death Valley National Park, it serves as a chilling example of the region's unforgiving nature. Egbert Rimkus, his 11-year-old son George, his girlfriend Cornelia Meyer, and her 4-year-old son Max were exploring the American Southwest. On July 22nd, they drove their rented Plymouth Voyager into Death Valley. After visiting a historic mine, they signed a guest book with a note in German. "We are going over the pass." This likely meant Mingle Pass, a rugged, four-wheel drive track completely unsuitable for their minivan. Months later, on October 23, 1996, their locked and abandoned van was found by park rangers. Inside were their passports, wallets, and toys. 2 tires were flat. A single set of footprints led away from the vehicle, heading east into the barren desert. An intensive search was launched, but it yielded only a single beer bottle, seemingly left as a marker one, 7 miles from the van. For 13 years, their fate was a mystery. Then, in 2009, 2 hikers stumbled upon human remains, later identified through DNA as Egbert Rimkus and Cornelia Meyer. The remains of the 2 children, George and Max, were never found. It's presumed they perished first, and their parents buried them somewhere in the vast, empty desert before continuing a desperate, futile search for help. Section 2. Mount Rainier, the Whiteout Vanishings. Our journey now takes us north to Washington State, and to a mountain that is both a breathtaking icon and a sleeping giant. Mount Rainier stands at 14,411 feet, an active stratovolcano covered by more glacial ice than any other peak in the contiguous U.S. Its beauty is immense, but it is a place of extreme and unpredictable danger. Sudden storms can drop visibility to 0 in minutes. Hidden crevasses can swallow a climber without a sound, and avalanches can sweep entire slopes clean. It's no surprise, then, that Mount Rainier National Park has a disturbing history of people vanishing within its boundaries. The cases that linger are those that defy simple explanation, where experienced individuals disappear under circumstances that puzzle even the most seasoned search and rescue teams. One of the most perplexing cases is that of Edwin Birch. In July 2014, 64-year-old Edwin Birch, a resident of Tacoma with over 30 years of hiking experience, set out for a hike on the famed Wonderland Trail. He and his son had an unusual plan. They would hike a 19-mile section of the trail from opposite ends, meet in the middle to exchange car keys, and continue to their respective starting points. Birch started from the Box Canyon trailhead, while his son began at White River. They met as planned around 3:30 p.m. near Indian Bar. According to his son, Birch seemed fine, though maybe a little tired. They swapped keys and parted ways. Birch's son made it to the Box Canyon trailhead around midnight, drove to pick up his father, and waited. Edwin Birch never showed up. At 1:30 a.m., he was reported missing. The search began immediately. The terrain was challenging. At that elevation, the trail was still covered in snow, which can be disorienting. But still, there was nothing. No pack, no dropped gear, no sign of a fall. For 2 weeks, the search continued without a single clue. Finally, on July 26th, park visitors found Birch's remains near the Frying Pan Glacier. The discovery only deepened the mystery. His body was found at 7,200 feet, about 2.7 miles away from his route. Most bizarrely, he was on the opposite side of a major ridgeline from his path, in an area with no trails. The medical examiner couldn't determine a cause of death. How did an expert hiker, on a familiar trail, end up miles from his route, on the other side of a mountain ridge? The mountain offered no answers. Another case that highlights the insidious nature of Mount Rainier is that of Dr. Sam Dubel. In October of 2020, the 33-year-old University of Washington professor, an avid and highly experienced hiker, set out for a solo overnight trip on the Mother Mountain Loop Trail. He was well prepared, carrying full survival gear. He was last seen on October 9th. When he failed to return as scheduled, he was reported missing on October 12th. An extensive search was launched, but again, the mountain stayed silent. No trace of Dr. Dubel or his gear was ever found. He was an expert hiker, fully equipped for the conditions, on a well-known trail. And yet, he vanished as if the ground had opened up and swallowed him. We're about to journey into our third and final park, a place with its own unique and terrifying brand of mystery. But before we do, if you're finding this exploration of the unexplained as fascinating as we are, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We delve into mysterious cases like these every week, and we'd love for you to join our community. Your support helps us bring these important and often forgotten stories to light. Now, let's head to the granite cliffs of Yosemite. Section 3, Yosemite, Lost in Plain Sight. Yosemite National Park in California is a landscape of superlatives. Home to giants like El Capitan and Half Dome, it's a paradise for nature lovers. But its immense size, over 750,000 acres, and spotty cell service also make it a place where one can easily get lost. Hundreds of search and rescue incidents happen here, and today there are more than 30 active, unresolved cold cases. What's truly disturbing about many of Yosemite's vanishings is how they happen. People don't just disappear in the remote backcountry. They vanish from popular areas, sometimes in broad daylight. Perhaps the most baffling case of this kind is the disappearance of 14-year-old Stacy Harris. In July of 1981, Stacy was on a horseback riding trip with her father and a group at the Sunrise High Sierra camp. In the late afternoon, Stacy decided to walk to a nearby lake to take some pictures. An elderly man from the group, Gerald, offered to go with her. They walked a short distance down the trail. After about 20 minutes, Gerald felt tired from the altitude and sat on a rock to rest, telling Stacy he'd wait for her. He watched her continue down the path. A tour guide at a nearby corral also saw Stacy. He watched her stand on a granite rock, take a picture, and then walk until she was hidden by trees. This was the last time anyone ever saw Stacy Harris. After 20 or 30 minutes, Gerald grew concerned and went back to camp to tell the others Stacy hadn't returned. Her father and the group immediately began to search. As dusk fell, she was reported missing. What followed was one of the most intense searches in Yosemite's history. For 9 days, hundreds of people combed the area. All they found was the lens cap from her camera. No camera, no clothing, no footprints, and no body. Theories swirled. The most obvious is that she wandered off trail, got lost, and succumbed to the elements. But the search was so thorough, it seemed impossible that they wouldn't have found some trace of her. Abduction seemed highly unlikely in such a remote location. Her father dismissed the idea. She ran away. After 9 days, the massive search was called off. Disappearances had vanished in a popular area in broad daylight and was never seen again. Another Yosemite case that defies easy explanation is that of Michael Fiesery. In June of 2005, the 51-year-old, an avid backpacker with 30 years of experience, embarked on a solo hike in the Hetch Hetchy area. When he failed to return by his due date, his family reported him missing on June 21st. A search was launched. Soon, they made a critical discovery. Fiesery's backpack was found near Tiltil Mountain, but the location was puzzling. It was on extremely rugged terrain, not on his planned route. Inside the pack were most of his belongings. However, his camera, a water bottle, and a map were missing. The discovery prompted a full-scale search that would become the most expensive in Yosemite's history. But they found nothing else. No sign of Michael Fiesery. Why would an expert hiker leave his main pack, with all his gear, behind? The missing water bottle suggests he may have left to get water. Perhaps he slipped and fell into a river. But extensive searches of nearby watercourses turned up nothing. And why was he so far off his permitted trail? He was known as a meticulous planner. For such a man to simply vanish after apparently setting his pack down is deeply unsettling. He disappeared into the granite landscape, leaving behind a single, baffling clue. Section 4. The Disturbing Secret and Common Patterns. We've walked through the abyss of the Grand Canyon, braved the icy slopes of Mount Rainier, and stood on the granite cliffs of Yosemite. We've told the stories of Glenn and Bessie Hyde, Edwin Birch, Disappearances, and Michael Fiesery, among others. Individually, they are heartbreaking tragedies. But when you look at them together, they reveal something more unsettling, a series of disturbing patterns. The first and most obvious pattern is the terrain itself. These are not local city parks. The Grand Canyon is a labyrinth of rock. Mount Rainier is a vertical world of glaciers and crevasses. Yosemite is over 750,000 acres of granite and dense forest. The sheer scale is a massive obstacle. A person can fall into a crevasse or slip into a side canyon, and their body might never be found. The second pattern is the unpredictable and often violent weather. A clear day on Mount Rainier can turn into a whiteout blizzard in an hour. Searing heat in the Grand Canyon can cause rapid dehydration and delirium, a likely factor in the tragic deaths of the German tourists in Death Valley. These environmental factors can disorient even the most experienced outdoors person, leading them to make fatal errors. Edwin Birch was an expert hiker, but snow on the trail may have confused him, sending him miles off course into deadly terrain. But it's the third pattern that is the most disturbing, the element of high strangeness. These aren't just cases of people getting lost. Many disappearances are marked by baffling circumstances. This has been documented by researchers like David Paulides, who coined the term missing 411 to describe clusters of these strange vanishings. Consider the clues. Often, a person vanishes without a sound, sometimes within sight of others, like Disappearances. Search dogs are frequently unable to pick up a scent, or they track to a certain point, a road, a creek, the middle of a trail, and then stop, as if the person simply lifted off the ground. In the case of Michael Fiesery, an expert hiker leaves his backpack and all his survival gear behind. This goes against everything a seasoned woodsman would do. It suggests something happened suddenly, something that caused him to drop his lifeline and move away from it. Then there's the strange placement of the victims. Edwin Birch was found miles from his trail, on the other side of a mountain ridge, in a place he had no logical reason to be. In other cases, victims are found in areas that have been searched multiple times. This has led some to speculate that the victims weren't there during the initial search. So what is the secret these parks share? It's a confluence of factors: the vast and dangerous terrain, the volatile weather, and an unknown element of high strangeness that repeatedly appears in these disappearances. These parks are places where the normal rules of logic and survival seem to break down. A small error in judgment that might be a minor issue elsewhere can be a fatal mistake in these extreme environments. The parks are so complex that they can swallow a person whole, leaving behind no evidence and no answers. They are, in a very real sense, the perfect places to disappear forever. The allure of our national parks is undeniable. They are places of wonder, beauty, and adventure. But as we've seen, they have a darker side. The stories of those who have vanished within the Grand Canyon, Mount Rainier, and Yosemite are a chilling reminder that these wild places demand our utmost respect. Systemic issues are also part of the problem. Search and rescue operations are incredibly costly and physically taxing, often conducted by understaffed teams who are stretched thinner than ever. A search is often scaled back after a few days, leaving cases to go cold and families in a torturous limbo. The mysteries of what happened to Glenn and Bessie Hyde, to Edwin Birch, to Stacey Harris, and to so many others may never be solved. Their stories have become part of the park's grim folklore, cautionary tales whispered around campfires. They remind us that for every person who stands at an overlook taking in the view, there are others whose final moments were spent lost and alone in that same breathtaking wilderness. The beauty and the danger are two sides of the same coin. What do you think is behind these vanishings? Is it simply a tragic mix of bad luck and the overwhelming power of nature? Or is there something more at play? Share your theories in the comments below. And if you want to explore more of the world's greatest unsolved mysteries, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Stay safe out there, and always let someone know where you're going.